I am a mom of 3 kids. I have 2 dogs and a partner at home. And when we moved here 3 months ago from the US, we very quickly realized that we had a country dog living in the city who, for the first time, was seeing dogs off leash and seeing a ton of dogs throughout the day. So we went from having a very manageable backyard dog to a dog that was lunging and barking and having an impossible time literally just leaving the apartment and walking down the street. So we had hit a point in our relationship to our dog where we felt like we were approaching the end of our rope. We didn't know how to give her a life where she felt happy and was engaged with the world around her and was able to be her wonderful, kid loving, joyful self in a city setting. My husband found Gemma just through looking at reviews, and bar none, all of Gemma's reviews were glowing and positive. So it was a gorgeous day. I was feeling incredibly nervous, and it was what felt like for Roberto and I, my husband and I, a really intense meeting in the sense that we didn't know what we were going to do if it didn't work out to work with Gemma. That's the level of concern that we had regarding how to help Pupusa. Because when you have a dog and you have kids and you have a busy life, you need to be able to incorporate your dog into your life outside the home. Because if you can't do that, then your dog is shut up in the home all the time. And that's not the life that we wanted for her. And we wanted to figure out what we could do as a team to work with her. Something that I always think about when it comes to engaging with dogs is duty of care. So I believe that as a parent, I have a duty of care to my children to make sure they feel cherished, loved, engaged, and are given opportunities. And I think the same thing is true if you decide to take on a pet. You have a duty of care to make sure that they have the best life possible with you. That's part of the commitment. So we were getting to a point where we were really concerned about the quality of life that she was going to have if we couldn't engage with her outside the home. So there felt like there was a lot riding on this meeting with Gemma, though I don't know that she was aware of all of the sort of end of the rope dire circumstances we were feeling. But it was great. We met with Gemma. She has a very calming and kind demeanor. So for the first time, that first meeting, we immediately felt at ease. And I didn't predict that. I went into the meeting being concerned that I was going to have to sort of almost make an argument for Pupusa and why she needed, to receive help. And Gemma was just so calming and wonderful right away and saw potential in Pupusa. So I think that that first meeting was critical because it helped us feel confident in Gemma. And I think that first meeting was the first time since we moved that we felt like we genuinely could have an opportunity to have a healthy and engaged life outside the home with Pupusa. After that initial meeting with Gemma, I can't describe the feeling of getting Pupusa back in the truck, pulling out of the driveway and feeling for the first time a genuine sense of relief, feeling like there is someone who can help you, feeling like there is someone who understands the difficulties of what you're working with and validates the efforts, the emotional and time efforts of working with your dog and not having it work. That was huge. So when Gemma said that she was able to take Pupusa, it felt like a lifeline. It felt like for the first time there was an opportunity for us to, just kind of get our girl back. So we signed up right away, and the timing was such that after our first meeting, Pupusa was starting the 4-week board and train like 4 days later. So it was definitely like a pretty wild feeling. I drove her to the board and train drop off. And one of the things Gemma says, and it's very true, is the energy you leave at drop off is really important. And so we just had like a very casual, like, see you later, even though I knew that she was going to be at board and train for 4 weeks. And that was definitely a wild feeling, I think, to drop our dog off who had never been separated, for more than, like, I don't know, like a day away from, to drop her off for 4 weeks. So one of the things that was so reassuring to me was Gemma was very clear about what communication would look like on her end. So we would get one on Tuesdays. I think we got just like a health and well-being checkup, like how Pupusa was feeling, how she was, going with treatment and treatment with training, and kind of just how she was settling in. And then Thursday was like, these are the benchmarks that we're aiming for this week. This is what she's doing really well with. This is what we're going to work on for next week. So that was really helpful. I think that not only was it wonderful for me and for my partner, as the responsible carers for Pupusa, it was so great for the kids, because the kids get to see Pupusa, see a video of Pupusa, a picture of Pupusa, and they get to see her like doing a training session. And that felt like it brought the whole family into Pupusa's experience. So even though we were totally out of it for 4 weeks, we felt super engaged with the process. And Gemma, being a incredible communicator, meant that if we had a question or concern, we felt like we could ping her on WhatsApp at any point. But the communication was so great that that really didn't pop up for us. We had every, trust in the process. Picking her up was really shocking. You have to understand, I think, to anyone who's struggling with a reactive dog will get what I'm saying. But to go from being afraid to leave your home because of how your dog might perceive another dog, or like a seagull outside your home, to going to pick up your dog and seeing your dog do a perfect, relaxed leash heel. And, after obviously like a wonderful and joyful reunion, just seeing her walk with us, with Roberto and I, around, Gemma's gorgeous like training arena, and seeing her do such a spectacular job listening, eye contacting, having her body language be relaxed. It was like night and day. And it's really hard to speak to that because of how drastic the change was. I think that if you had seen her before, you would have seen a dog who was constantly on alert, constantly overexcited seeing other dogs, and was really unpredictable. And then all of it, pulling on the lead, that's another really big one. And certainly never doing a command unless she wasn't stimulated by anything else. So to go from a dog who was reactive, overstimulated, and unable to relax, to a dog who could walk on lead, relax and sit while I'm chit-chatting with someone else outside the house, and not charge other dogs, has been mind-boggling. So that's been a huge part. And that was evident from the second we came to pick her up. We picked her up. We had, I think, like a 45-minute to an hour session with Gemma on commands. We got to ask her all our questions. And I mean, I was asking bananas questions, like, what do we do if she's charged by another dog that like wants to attack her? Like, I was asking every question I could think of, and Gemma handled it all very gracefully and understood that it came from a place of, not wanting to backslide, not wanting to go back to that really difficult place we were before we did board and train. And it gave us such a great assurance, because Gemma was like, you can message me anytime, you can ask me any question anytime. Group classes every 2 weeks. I think it's just about every 2 weeks, where you can get together and do refreshers. And that was really huge. I think that, there's so much anxiety that goes into having a dog that's reactive to anything. Our dog happened to be just overexcited by other dogs, but, having a dog that's reactive to anything, it's hard to trust the process. And so I think are you bothered by the flies, ma'am? I think having a continued relationship is I didn't appreciate how much we were going to need that until we went through the board and train. The group classes afterwards are a just lifeline to see other people in community with you working on similar issues, and seeing people who value the relationship with their dog enough to put the work in. Incomplete for me not to say that the the value, what we paid to do the board and train, we got so much more, so much more value than I could than what we paid for. Essentially, I mean, if you think about 10 to 12-hour days of work and you think about the fact that your dog is socializing with other dogs, if you think about the fact that your dog is learning how to interact with other people, other stimulants, all doing that work without you, just the time save, the mental and emotional duress save that you don't have to put yourself through that as you're worried at every turn. And then really getting your dog back at the end, getting your pet back. I mean, that's worth every penny. And the fact that you can join a class every 2 weeks afterwards and not have it be yet another, like, any sort of charge, I mean, that's unbelievable. So I think for us it's the best money we've ever spent. You know, just you think about all the things you buy when you have a reactive dog, different kinds of leashes, different kinds of collars, the fact that you wake up at weird times to take your dog out or you stay up late, all the avoidance that you practice trying to live your life with your dog. And you can skip all of that and just work with Gemma and do a board and train and have that opportunity to get your life back.